We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. What is going on? We have a jam-packed show today. It has been 2 days or a couple days since I've posted an episode. Lots of signings have happened. So today we're going to be breaking down the Jaylon Johnson contract and just really in good detail say what is going on and why I think this was an incredible deal for the Bears and also for Jaylon Johnson. And then we're going to be going through some of the new signings that the Bears just had and talk about the new cap space that the Bears have. How much do we have today after Jaylon Johnson and signing a couple others? We'll break that down. And last but not least, big rumor about Justin Fields staying on the Chicago Bears that we need to break down. So first off, you want to make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube so you do not miss an update. And always rate the show 5 stars if you haven't already everywhere that you get your podcast. So let's get started. Jaylon Johnson gets re-signed to a 4-year, $76 million deal. And I really wanted to do an episode yesterday, but I wanted to wait to see the contract details and when that stuff all comes out. And now we have it. So for those watching on YouTube, pay attention to what I just circled. And I know that people talk about the yearly cash and other things for Jaylon Johnson. That's what Jaylon cares about. Because up front, he's getting $28 million in cash this year. That doesn't mean his salary cap is $28 million. So first things first, I just want to say $19 million average when you look at Jaylon Johnson is incredibly good for someone who has given the amount of production as a Jaylon Johnson. So I applaud Ryan Poles for that. 19, very, very good. Also, they're giving him, I believe it was the highest percentage of guaranteed money to a cornerback. And obviously, great stuff. But when you look at the cap hit, $13.425 million of cap hit this season. Before, if he was tagged, it was 19.8. So it's going to be 13.42. And then next year, it jumps up to 21.425 million. And then after that, 20.575 million. And then 20.575 million the 2 years after that. And when I look at this deal, I love the structure of it. Because when you have the 13 million now, remember, there is this concept called rollover cap. So what the Bears could do is, obviously, they have an additional $6 million that they are able to kind of play around with this year. Now, they can either opt to spend that money, or if they don't spend that money, that $6 million will be rolled over, or whatever the salary cap number is that they have, it will then roll over to the following season and tack on to the next open salary, the next salary cap. So either way, I really love this because it gives the Bears the ability to sign someone. And maybe they might just want a 1-year free agent, whether it's a defensive end, a safety, something like that. It gives the Bears a lot of flexibility. So overall, I love this. But the next little breakdown that I want to talk about this contract is they do have an out. Now, I always hate talking about the outs, but they do have an out after year 2. So if anything happens or it's just they need to save some money, they do have an out after year 2. So there's only $10 million in dead cap after during 2026. So after 2 seasons, they could part ways and then save basically $10.5 million if they were to do so. Obviously, you don't want to see that, but it is something that they can do, and it's nice to at least have it out there, especially since he's already getting a lot of guaranteed money. So what do you guys think down below? I am a big fan of this deal. I know I was kind of going back and forth a little bit on if I wanted Jaylon to be signed, but I got going more and more and more on the Jaylon train. And the biggest reason why is Jaylon is a leader of this defense, and you saw it last year. And especially with these young cornerbacks, you want someone that is locked down. The biggest question was his health, and when he's been out there, he's always been a good corner, and you see this with the Matt Eberflus system. He seems to have a good home here, and I'm glad that he's re-signed. Also, he's only 24 years old, and if you look at the deal, his deal ends when he's 28. Like, that's just absolutely incredible. So, good deal for the Bears, I think, all around. Solid price. And keep in mind, too, salary cap numbers, especially for corners, are only going to be going up from here. So, his average salary is just going to keep getting lower and lower in the grander scheme of things. So, absolutely loved the signing. But let's talk about the other signings the Bears had, too. They signed the great Patrick Scales as the long snapper for a little over $1 million when you tally everything together. I believe it was $1 million guaranteed, but, very, very small, minute details. Already kind of expected him to be re-signed. They also re-signed Jaylon Johnson, the wide receiver. Maybe the new EQ St. Brown for the Chicago Bears. I like Jaylon Johnson. I think that he's a solid possession wide receiver. He's just going to compete versus practice squad or maybe at the bottom of the roster in this wide receiver room. But then the last one, kind of interesting, free safety Tarvarius Moore. Now, we don't know too much about him, so we'll just kind of dive into this. He was on the Packers last year, but did not play a regular season snap. He also is more of a free safety, which the Bears need. Is he going to be a starter? Well, I kind of hope not. If he wasn't able to start for the Packers, probably wouldn't be able to start for the Bears. But when you look at him overall and you just look at the PFF grades, the most snaps he was able to play was with San Francisco back in 2020, where he played 541 snaps and had a 60.2 grade in PFF, which is very, kind of below average, average-ish type of season. Nothing to write home about. PFF has him charted for 40 tackles, 7 missed tackles, which is not great, and 5 assists. So overall, just a solid, one of those depth types of signings that they have at the safety position. Nothing that it's not like they're not going to sign a safety now, but it was just an interesting signing because he was someone that just was not on this team. So let's talk about this new salary cap, because this is where I just think that Ryan Poles did a masterclass. I really like where the Bears are at with this salary cap, because if you look at the numbers up here, the top 51, so you just kind of trim off and you just say, okay, 51 people, and obviously there's 53 in the total active, but if you do the top 51, Bears have, according to Spot Rack, $63.93387 million. So basically just around $64 million in cap space. That is incredible. If you tally up all the people that are on this team, it's 62. So really, you are looking at that around $64 million in cap space that the Bears have. And then we know free agency is coming up. Bears still need a free safety. Arguably, they need a defensive tackle, and it would be lovely to have a defensive end. Wide receiver, rumor is that they're going to add multiple wide receivers. Now, the thing that article didn't mention was whether it's in free agency or inside of the draft. I think it's going to be one in free agency and maybe or two in free agency, one bigger name and one just kind of lower person that you don't really know too much about, just for a very small deal, and then they end up drafting a couple. But ultimately, this is some really, really great cap space that the Bears are able to work with. And I know a lot of people are saying running back. I'm not for it, right? As a fan, I would love it. But as someone who analyzes the team, and when you think about roster construction, it doesn't really make sense. And that is my biggest thing, is I don't think it makes sense to sign a running back for a $10 million deal like a Saquon Barkley or a Josh Jacobs. Just not a big fan of it. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. But let's talk a little bit more. So cap space, I feel good about this. And we'll definitely preview more about the free agents a little bit later, because there's a lot to go through with that. But let's talk about Justin Fields staying, because this is the big rumor that kind of took Twitter ablaze. So Mikey Bear Down Cuz, he tweeted out, breaking, I have it from a source as close to the situation as you could be at this point, that Justin Fields is in fact staying in Chicago, barring something very unforeseen / drastic. Still no official word on what Bears do with the number 1 pick. So that's coming from Mikey Bear Down Cuz. For those that don't know, he's done a handful of things. He used to do a lot of Chicago sports stuff. I don't know if he still does, but I know that he does like the Bob Does Sports. He's popular out there, and a slew of other things. Now, what do we take of this? Let me know down in the comments. Do you buy this? Do you not buy this? I wanted to report this because I want to report both sides. And this is something that from the field side is really big. But here's the thing. And right when I saw this, the first person I went to was Adam Rank. And why I went to Adam Rank was because Adam Rank knows Mikey very well. I also have friends in the industry that know Bear Down Cuz pretty well. And I agree with what Adam Rank had to say because he knows Bear Down Cuz, and he said this. He was talking about how Bear Down Cuz is not doing this for clout. He's not doing this for the clicks. He probably does have someone, like he said, that told him this information. He probably has a source that did, in fact, tell him this. And I believe that. I believe that he has a source that told him this, and I don't think he made this up. But what Adam said is he's like, but he was getting text messages as he was going live talking about this. Adam Rank got text when he was live, and people were saying, yeah, the Bears are getting rid of Justin Fields. That's not even close. It's going to happen. Fields is gone. And that's kind of what I feel as well. Like all the main sources, Adam Schefter, even Adam Rank, literally on his own show when he was reporting this stuff, was saying, yeah, it looks like he's as good as gone, right? Anything could still happen. But to me, my take is I still feel I got to go with Adam Schefter. I got to go with all the other insiders that have reported this and talked about this, that the expectation is that it's going to be Caleb Williams. But I wanted to talk about it just to see what everyone else kind of thought and also just report it because we need to talk about both sides. We need to talk about what's going on. And you already know we're going to be doing that. So if you haven't already, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. It helps out the channel absolutely tremendously. And I definitely appreciate it. With that, also rate 5 stars everywhere you get your podcast. Just look for Unbearable Sports and you can listen to this everywhere that you go. And with that, have a great weekend, everyone. In Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and you know that she's a